All right, welcome back, everybody. HSC Podcast 32. We are now on week 3 of the NFL. So for those of you who listen on YouTube, thanks for liking and subscribing. Don't forget to leave comments. And even when we have bad weeks like last week, we still like to hear the comments. But we're going to review last week and try to figure out what's going on in the NFL these days. If you're listening on Anchor or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thanks for listening. Anything you guys want to hear, anything you want us to bring up, talk about your fantasy team or what's going to happen week 4 in the NFL, please leave comments and let us know. So let's jump right into it. Before we recap week 2, I've seen a lot of these hot takes going around, and I kind of like these, just to hear you guys' thoughts on some of these. So one of the hot takes I see going around is there's a bigger surprise at Cincinnati's 0-2, or that what was the other one? It was the Philadelphia. So is Philadelphia that good or is Cincinnati that bad? So Philadelphia being 2-0, are they that good, or Cincinnati that bad at 0-2? What's a bigger hot take?
Well, kind of right now, I feel like it's that the Bengals are that bad. Because you lost to the Cowboys with Cooper Rush.
And the Steelers week 1, right?
Yeah, Steelers with
look so good.
Trubisky, who couldn't do anything last against the Patriots. So yeah, I mean, and Burrow's still getting sacked a ton.
Right.
They didn't fix that problem. That was the one thing they needed to fix. So, and then everyone's kind of, the Eagles were already kind of the chosen ones kind of coming into this season, right? They're like, oh my gosh, look at all their moves. So that's not as big as a surprise as the Bengals going 0-2, especially to the Cowboys without Dak Prescott and Steelers team.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with that. What do you think, Wes?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Burrow, they thought that they were just solidified the offensive line in the offseason, and he's getting killed back there. I mean, they're not protecting him. Of course, Mixon's on my fantasy team. He's not doing anything. He had 19 carries for 57 yards. Chase, really not a factor. The Cowboys aren't terrible. Especially defensively, they're fairly stout, but still, it's shocking that they're 0-2. And honestly, they played the Jets, and they might go 0-3 the way the Jets are playing. So, they have to win that game. I think the stats were, if you go 0-2, there's only 12 teams that have made the playoffs going 0-2 in the history of the NFL. So that's not a lot. That's not a lot of teams. Just 12. So
yeah, I think there's a big stat though also for like 2-0 teams, right? Too. So it kind of works the same way. If you start 2-0, you got a good chance of making the playoffs too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so 0-2, that hurts. Luckily, there's one extra game nowadays, but still, it's a long road back, right? And so I tend to agree with you guys there. I don't think. Yeah, Cincinnati just doesn't look very good right now. I don't know that that'll be a whole season-long thing, but yeah, that's a big one for me. I think you're right, Philly. They haven't played great teams either. Detroit and Minnesota, Minnesota's good, but they're not great. And Detroit's not terrible, but they're not real good either. So, I think Philly will have to, see the test of time. Here's another one you guys probably aren't going to like. Is it a bigger surprise that the Raiders are 0-2? Or that the Giants are 2-0?
I would say the Giants 2-0. The Raiders played the Chargers, who everyone thinks is going to the Super Bowl, and the Cardinals, who are a playoff team last year. So should they be 0-2? No, but is it that big of a surprise? No, either. But the Giants, no one expected the Giants to go 2-0. How many games they won last year? 4.
Yeah, not many, right?
Yeah, and So I would think the Giants is the bigger surprise. And then it's because Saquon Barkley's leading the NFL in rushing right now.
Yeah, he had a really great start to the season against the Titans. That helps. What do you think, Wes? You agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the Giants. It's kind of. They beat the Panthers, which, it's Baker Mayfield. He didn't really do much in the game, but Daniel Jones only had 176 yards passing. Barkley had 72 yards. They're defensively, they played well against Carolina. Their defense is playing good. They caused 2 turnovers. So it's a good start for the Giants, and sure, New York's somewhat excited, but I wouldn't get too far ahead of. They do got to play the Cowboys, and it's going to be a tough game for them. So
yeah, I didn't think the Raiders would be 0-2, so I think that's kind of a surprise for me. But yeah, I think the Chargers, that game I think could have went either way in my mind, especially before the season and up to that game. I definitely thought they would beat Arizona, and they should have, and so it's a big shocker for me that they are they're 0-2. The Giants, in my mind, probably can beat Carolina on any given day. The Tennessee win was a little surprising, but Tennessee doesn't look so good at all either. So if you would have told me the Giants beat Tennessee week 1 last year, when Tennessee was the number 1 seed, I would have said no way. But after watching them play the first 2 weeks, it's almost like, man, do you trust Tennessee at all anymore? So that's a tough one. And so, yeah, so that was another big one. And another one was around fantasy football. People are talking about, is the scope of fantasy football changing from that go running back heavy versus, get good receivers? At least at the beginning of this season so far, it's looking like, man, if you have the best receivers, like, you're in good shape, for some of them getting guys putting up 40 points, 30 points, guys like McCaffrey and your guy at Indianapolis, Derek, that you drafted, and Derek Henry.
Taylor.
Taylor. And then I got Derek Henry's done nothing, and so you got these big name running backs, not really Mixon, who was a high draft pick, not scoring a lot of points.
But that's the other thing is, like, Amon St. Brown, who I talked about on our fantasy football podcast, I said he was one to pick up, and I got him in like 5th round, and he's scored.
Well, he had an exceptional game. Yeah.
He's scored 60 points in 2 games. He had 20 the first game and 39 the second game.
Right.
And you could have got him late, like later for receivers, and that's all you got to do. I scored 170 points last week because you got to wait on a quarterback. I got Jalen Hurts. I didn't take Mahomes or whatever in the first round, or you just got to wait and pick your poisons. Taylor, Henry, McCaffrey, they're all going to get their points. The whole reason about taking running backs is because they most of the time are consistent, because you're going to get the ball handed off to you. Right. Whereas receivers, it's quarterback dependent also about getting you the ball. Look at Devontae Adams, only had 2 catches last week.
Yeah, no, that can hurt you. It can hurt you as much as help you. So what's your take on that, Wes?
Yeah, it seems like, receivers. That's the thing about the NFL is it's going more and more to, you're using the passing game more as your way of just, this whole space ball idea. It's not quite West Coast, because you're not throwing the ball to running backs, you're throwing to receivers. So it seems like it's just going to be more and more of a passing league. And we don't even have any fullbacks hardly anymore. I miss seeing, that, I formation, let's run the ball right at defenses. And try to control the ball and play some good defense. I mean, that's prehistoric times at this point, the way the league's going. So I'm not surprised that. I mean, my receivers, of course, aren't doing much, but yeah, and my running. I mean, just the whole Derrick Henry thing. It doesn't shock me because you just know that. Hey, you know what? Why wouldn't you stack the box? Because you have Tannehill as your quarterback.
Yeah, and not good receivers. He's not very
No,
good receivers. I mean, Robert Woods is decent, but he's not somebody that you're going to be like, man, I'm worried about him going off every game.
Yeah,
you can't sleep him
Well,
he's not stretching defenses like
right.
And that's the thing is you get it also is you had teams like Green Bay and Tennessee not want to pay wide receivers. And like what I mean, Green Bay came back because they gave it to Aaron. They have 2 running backs that they gave the ball to every single time. But yeah, it's like Tennessee went from last year. I know he's injured most of the year, but having Julio Jones and AJ Brown to having who? Treylon Burks.
Right. Yeah, and I see a lot of people talking about, do you give up on your running backs? Do you trade them? And like so that's why it's coming up, because I think it's the underperformance so far to this point of running backs, some of the top running backs. In my opinion, and I hope they do come back, right? I hope Derrick Henry actually shows up this season, because if I have another first round pick that gives me no points, man, it's gonna hurt me again. So I think it's an interesting hot take. I think Wes does make a very valid point, and I think a lot of people have that same thought process of it is a passing league, and a lot of times on those short, second and short or third and short, they're going to the passes, instead of running the ball as much as they used to.
But the whole difference is, but you want premium at that position. You can get wide receivers 4th, 5th round. You're not going to get a running back that's going to get 20, 25 carries in the 5th round.
No, and even just looking, my running backs are they're not performing at all. And so I'm just looking, and you can't find a running back, to add that's worth anything, that's going to carry the ball more than 10 times. So there's no point in switching out right now, So
yeah, obviously it was a blowout game, and Henry was just horrid. He only had like 13 carries. They didn't play him, most of the 4th quarter.
Still got a touchdown though.
Right. Yeah. So he gave me a whole whopping 9 points. So that I think that's interesting though, and you just see it as the way they score points too. You get a reception, you get a point. So you don't get a point for carries, right? You only get a point for yards, and so that's a kind of a scoring thing when it comes down to fantasy football. So those are some hot takes going around I thought were interesting. But let's jump into week 2 recap here. This was a crazy week. I know I did poorly. I was 7-9. Wes, you said you're 7-9. Derek, you were 9-7. I mean, overall for us, this is probably going to be one of the worst weeks we have, I would imagine, as far as picks, because a lot of the games that you thought, the Jacksonville game, and then who expects things like that? And so that was a tough one to call. So let's go down and just we don't need to recap them all real quick, but what were some big surprises there in week 2? Like what really hurt you guys in your picks? For me, again, Jacksonville, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect Indianapolis to be where they're at. For me, that was a big one. What are some other games that really surprised you or didn't go the way you thought they should?
Well, I mean, I don't really want to talk about the 3 monumental collapses. Those 3 games were like anomalies, right? You don't ever see that. I had all 3 of the losers winning those games. That would have made my record 12-4, just right there.
Right.
I want to talk about the Steelers Patriots. I had the Steelers winning.
Yeah.
And either they have no confidence in Trubisky or something, but they're not throwing the ball at all. And like the receivers, Trubisky are all complaining that they're not getting able to throw the ball deep or anything like that. And you're not, like we just talked fantasy football, you're not going to win in this league if you're playing super conservative.
Yeah, for sure, because you got to score points, right?
Right. Especially without having TJ Watt. You're not going to, you would have to have the Baltimore Ravens or the 85 Bear defense if you want to play that way. And no one has that anymore.
Yeah.
So that was quite surprising to me.
I think I had Pittsburgh as well there. So yeah, that was a surprise for me in Pittsburgh too. That was a big one. So yeah, that one stuck out as well. Let's see. Like I said, definitely for me, like I said, Indianapolis, Jacksonville, that one, especially to put up 0 points for Indianapolis. I think that was my biggest surprise. Like when I saw 24-0, because I didn't actually watch much of that at all. I thought it was 24-0 Indianapolis, and I'm like, wait a minute, am I reading that wrong? But
well, and then a lot of our picks, we don't know what the injury reports are.
Right.
And it's big to know that Michael Pittman didn't play.
Yeah,
because he's your only receiver on the Colts.
Yeah, and that's an issue with picking, obviously early and doing that. But yeah, that's just not something you can avoid, when we're doing it midweek. How about you, Wes? Anything that stuck out for you week 2? Any games that I think the Dallas Cincinnati game?
Yeah, Cooper Rush. I thought they had a chance in the game, but I was surprised that the Bengals, played so poorly, only scoring 17 points. But the things, the shocking game, looking at, there was a lot of comebacks, but the game Miami and Baltimore was wild. That game was just absolutely wild. It's like it looked like Baltimore was going to blow them out of the stadium, and then they start trying to come back, and then Lamar Jackson breaks off that 80-yard run, and it's like, okay, the game's over now. This is done. And then the fourth quarter is, the passes to Hill. Tua's got 6 touchdowns. Then you throw that pick, and it's like, okay, here goes Tua's going to become, this is what Tua does. It's just the way he throws the ball. It just seems like it takes forever to get out of his arm, out of his hand. The way he delivers it, but you know what? He just used diamond. But you knew that Tyreek Hill was going to make the difference in the offense. He's going to open things up, and that it really is really going to help Waddle. They're Tyreek's 1 in yards so far during the season, and Waddle's 3.
Right.
It's basically because of that game, and Evans.
They both went for 200 yards almost, right?
Yeah. So it's that game really I remember I went and I couldn't watch much of the game until like the third quarter, and I was just like, my jaw was like, oh my God, like how is this, how are the Dolphins doing this? And the Dolphins can be dangerous. They play like that.
Oh
they can
yeah,
do damage to the AFC.
Yeah, that was fun. It was it was a fun game. It was great. It doesn't get much more exciting than that game was, with the ups and the downs and the comeback win, and man, that was fun to watch. So and a surprise that Miami wins, that they won in the end. So that was a big one. Also, so another one, I even though Atlanta lost, like I didn't think they'd keep it that close against the Rams, and so Atlanta surprised me a little bit, or where the Rams maybe let off the gas a little, but the same point, Atlanta hung in that game and made it real close. So that was a kind of a shocker, even though the Rams still won. That was another one out there, I think. And then let's see.
For me, it was they won, and I picked them to win, but they did not look that good. It's the Broncos.
Right.
You lose the Seahawks, and the Texans stay in the game with you for pretty much the entire game.
Yep.
In Denver. It's not looking good for the unlimited Russell Wilson era.
Right. Yeah, and well, Houston may or may not be as bad as everybody thinks, but I think Denver looked not very good. Just the offensively, they don't look that they've meshed yet, and so they don't look real heavy on offense right now. And I think they lost Judy, right?
Did they?
No, at least for that.
Oh,
game.
he didn't practice Wednesday. I mean, if he is going to play, he's not going to be 100% probably. So.
Right. Yeah, so that's going to hurt him too, because they already lost their number or Patrick, in preseason, so you start losing, two of your top three receivers, that might not be a good outlook there for them. So I agree, they did not play well. I thought they would be better at that point. Yeah, so I don't think there's a lot of other surprises. There were a lot of good games that, again, teams are playing each other close. I think this week, at least, it gave me the same feel as week one, where you almost don't know who's going to win these games. I mean, there's a couple games that were easy to pick, but it's like the Cleveland Jets game, right? You might as well flip the coin. That or the Arizona Vegas game, like, came down to overtime. The Giants in Carolina, again, like, how do you even know? How do you even pick that game? So I think it was a tough week, and it showed in the outcomes. But I don't know what's your overall record now. So I think I'm let's see, what am I? I think I'm 17 and 15.
I'm 16 and 16.
Oh man, we're back to almost even again. So and Wes is a nil in week one, but starting out 7 and 9. But we said, what were we going to give Wes in week one?
It was not. I think it was 9 and 7. I think it was
9 and 7. Yeah, so we're all pretty close here.
Well, I think it came down to the Chiefs game and the Bucks game, right?
Right.
Because I had both the winners. You guys both had both the losers in those games.
Right. Yeah, that was a tough week. So let's move into week 3. Let's see if we can pick it back up, get back on track here with our week 3 picks. Let me pull up the week 3 schedule here.
Thursday night's not a fun game.
The first game, right? This is a tough one to pick, I think. Pittsburgh at Cleveland. So what do you got, Derek?
Oh, man. 2 underperforming teams here. The Browns are favored by 4, but I'm taking the Steelers here by 3. I think the whole hubbub of Trubisky and the receivers wanting to open it up a little more, I think they're going to actually play a lot better this week, because Trubisky has to, or else Kenny Pickett's right there.
Right.
So I got the Steelers beating the Browns.
So Steelers by 3. Wes, what do you got?
I'm going to take the Browns just because of Chubb and the running game. I think they're going to run the ball, and that's going to open up the passing game. I think Brissett is good enough to, if they're going to collapse on the running game, they're going to collapse on Chubb. I think Brissett can hit guys down the field, and so I think Trubisky's playing so terrible that, and there's dissension already in the locker room is when it comes to receivers and Trubisky, and all those doubts are popping back up in people's heads about Trubisky in the past. I think it's gonna be a close game. I'd say that's 20-17 Browns in the end.
So Cleveland by 3.
Yeah. Oh, and then I looked at their Madden ratings comparing both teams. And there's only Watt's gone. So now there's only 2 players to Cleveland's 10 top Madden ratings, like 2 players.
Yeah, Madden ratings don't count for that stuff though.
That's funny though.
That is funny.
Well, they have Deshaun Watson on there probably.
No, I don't see him on there. No, they don't.
Well, and Amari Cooper had his first good game. He had a good game last week. I think this could go either way. In my opinion, I went back and forth on this, so I'm actually going to go with Cleveland just because they're at home. I don't think either of these teams are really better than the other. At least at this point, I think Pittsburgh has the ability to be the better team, at least until Watson comes back and we figure out if he's going to even be any good. So at this point, I went with Cleveland by 3 as well. So that'll be a big Thursday night game for the stats.
Yeah.
It could be a swing game for Derek. All right, so Houston at Chicago. I'll go first because I'm Bears. So I'm gonna break the rule and I'm gonna say my team's gonna win. I'm breaking the rule. So Chicago, right? I think they have that confidence of playing at home. Houston isn't bad. They're not good. I don't think anybody knows what Houston is at this point. I think it's going to be a very low scoring game. And I think Chicago's going to win in a couple field goals. So I got Chicago by 6. Derek, what do you got?
Bears are favored by 2.5. I'm going with the upset. I got the Texans. It's the Lovie Smith revenge game here.
Everybody thinks it's a revenge game.
Yeah. Lovie Smith coming back. The last really, I mean, Nagy had some success, but really the last successful coach Chicago had was Lovie Smith. I feel like the Texans are making baby steps, and I think they kind of devise a plan here to beat the Bears. The Bears have only 15 receptions total in 2 games. There's 8 receivers that have more than the Bears do as a whole team.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
so that's going to be a big issue.
They're definitely playing super conservative, right? I think the coach knows that. I think this is a good chance for them to open it up a little bit in this game. So, but I think you're right. Their offense is just dismal, and especially in the passing game.
Oh yeah, I mean, you look at their leading receiver is Brown, St. Brown, 3 receptions, 57 yards.
Yeah,
on the season, not last game, the season, whole game. So that's abysmal. It's pretty terrible. Houston. I mean, Lovie Smith. Houston's going to play hard for Lovie Smith. I mean, that's just all there's to it. I like Lovie Smith as a coach because, he motivates players to play maybe above, maybe overachieve. So the Bears are giving up the most rushing yards in the NFL, 190 yards per game, basically. So I think the Texans are going to keep it close. I'm going to give the edge to the Bears, though, 22-21. I think they'll pull it out. I think they'll do enough to win. I think Fields will be the difference. And as long as they get him outside the pocket, I just want to see him outside the pocket. I think that gives them the best chance to, obviously the receiving core isn't great. They're not getting open. And that's the best way for them to get open is he's going to have to improvise. And I think he's going to have to tuck in and run it a lot too. I mean, he might have 100 yards.
I mean, he's comfortable outside the pocket, and so it's good for his confidence. I think you're right. It helps your receivers get open. It allows you to pull it down for 4 or 5 yards at a time. But just like a lot of teams will do, they'll probably start spying him, and make it harder for him as well. So, I think it's going to be a close game. And so Wes and I take the opposite of Derek. This is going to be a big one. So Wes, why don't you lead on this next game? The Las Vegas Raiders at Tennessee.
Didn't make me talk about the Raiders after last week. I'm yelling at the TV. I'm literally like yelling at the TV after last week. It was just ridiculous. Of course, I'm going to take the Raiders because they're playing the Titans, and to me, I think this week is going to be the week that they really open up the offense and they start scoring points. And I think they're basically to load the box again, make it hard for Henry. I think Henry's going to have a better game, but still, I think the problem for the Titans is I don't think anybody has any confidence in Tannehill, and so until they decide they're going to play Willis, I think that's just they're not going to be able to hang with the Raiders. I believe if the Raiders play the way they're supposed to play, if they draw it up the way that basically gets guys open, you take basically you look at the defense and say, okay, you're going to take away Adams, we're going to go to Waller. You take away Waller, we're going to go to Renfro. It's just if they play that game, they should win because I don't think Tannehill can match Carr with those weapons in a game like that. So go Raiders. Better get it done because you go 0-3. That's not good.
Yeah, and that's going to be tough, right? So, Derek, I'm guessing you agree.
Well, the only tidbit there is Renfro has a concussion and might not play, so that will cause some issues. But they also, if you look at it on a bigger picture, the Raiders have gone up against Justin Herbert and Kyler Murray, two quarterbacks that, if even you get pressure on them, they can get out of the pocket and move. Tannehill can too, but he's not on the level of athleticism as those two. And so I feel like that's going to be a bigger thing for the Raiders defense. They're going to be able to get after him more. And yeah, if the Raiders come out like they did against the Cardinals, that takes Derrick Henry out of the game. And then it's just on Tannehill. And yeah, one more step closer to Malik Willis because that's who needs to be in there. So yeah, I got the Raiders. I'm going to say they're going to win by 7 because they're kind of upset too because they were manhandling the Cardinals.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the Cardinals, it's tough for me because I just don't know how good they are. So that was tough because it's like now you have a comeback loss against a team that I'm not really sold on in the Cardinals. This is a tough game for me because you got 2 0-2 teams, right? Both these teams think they're really good teams, and they're both 0-2. And you can't go 0-3, right? I mean, if you go 0-3, it's you're looking at, hey, do I bring in the backup quarterback, or what do we do? Are we going to be able to make the playoffs? And 0-3 for the Raiders in their division, that's real tough, in that division because teams are going to win games. But I'm taking the home team. It's in Tennessee. I think Derrick Henry does come out and have a good game. And it's mostly because in Tennessee, you talk about their coach. He's going to get them fired up. I think he gets them fired up. And I don't know that Josh McDaniels has the ability to really push the Raiders to get that fired up. I think it's going to have to be the players winning the game. So not that I don't think Vegas can win. I think it's a toss-up game. But I'm going to have to take Tennessee as the home team. So Tennessee by a touchdown. I know you guys don't like that one.
No.
All right. Kansas City at Indianapolis. Derek, what do you got?
Oh, Chiefs are only favored. Well, I mean, they're the away team, but they're only favored by 5.5, which is crazy because of the way they manhandled the Cardinals and looked pretty. I mean, yes, Herbert threw that pick 6, and that was a close game. But yeah, the Colts are a mess. Matt Ryan is kind of falling off a cliff. I mean, what's what the Colts MO. Let's bring in super old quarterbacks who you think can play and then can't. Did it with Phillip Rivers. Now it's Matt Ryan. Yeah, I got the Chiefs by 10.
Yeah, I mean, Indianapolis just does not look good right now, do they?
28 to nothing to the Jaguars.
Right.
Come on.
Wes, what do you got?
Yeah, I got the Chiefs as well. I mean, Mahomes in September is, his record's ridiculous as far as like he's got 48 touchdown passes to 3 interceptions, 13-2 of those games. So, I mean, he just comes out hot usually, and I don't think things are going to be any different against a team that's basically as bad as the Colts right now. I mean, are they as bad as losing to a team like the Jaguars 24-0? Sounds like it pretty much. There's injuries
And tying
again.
with Houston.
Yeah, it's thank you. Remind me that.
And should have lost or down by how much to Houston.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're making the Texans look like a playoff team. I mean, yeah, the Colts look bad. I'm a little surprised that they are that bad, but and I think they'll lose by 17 to Mahomes. And Mahomes, I mean, their offense is running on all cylinders. I mean, it's kind of like what I think Aaron Rodgers hoped to have with his receiving core and the running backs. Like, okay, you take away Tyreek Hill, guess what? It's gonna make me. You're gonna really guess what I'm doing now. I could really look off the safeties. I mean, I could really just look one way and throw the other like he does, like in practice and stupid stuff like that. But yeah, the Colts. I mean, this is like key ball. I mean, it's just he's could go for 4 touchdowns and 300 something yards in this game very easily.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think if you told me this at the beginning of the season that this is the way that this game would look, I didn't really think that because I thought Indianapolis had a chance to be a better team than they are. But the way they're playing right now, it's hard not to say KC doesn't win this. And I think I'm on about the same boat as Derek by like 10 or so. So KC, I think, comes out with a win there, and Indianapolis is in tough position, right? And then they go on 3. So we're 2-1. So that'd be tough for them. Buffalo at Miami. Another tough game here. So, Wes, what do you think about this game?
Well, I mean, after last week, the Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins can score with anybody. It's just they have a plethora of weapons. I mean, we haven't even talked about the potential at running back when you're talking about Moser and Edmonds. If they got to go that route, if they're gonna the Bills, the Bills defense is stout, and I think we talked about this before. The Bills got backups for backups. I mean, the guy goes down, and it's just that system. It's just plug and play, and so I think Buffalo wins this game, but I think it's gonna be a challenge. I think Josh Allen needs to be on top of his game. Everyone's like talking about how great he looks the first 2 weeks. I don't care. There's a couple of those passes I saw, early as he can be inaccurate. And the Dolphins, the way that, they draw stuff up, they can cause him problems, and they know Allen fairly well. So I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as everyone thinks it's going to be. I think, 29-23, the Bills.
Picking the Bills. Yeah, Derek, you agree with that?
Yeah, let's slow our roll on the Dolphins a little bit here because they were losing by a ton, and the Ravens let the gas off. Buffalo hasn't shown that they're going to let the gas off. They pretty much have annihilated both teams they've played. Last week, it was Tennessee, but Gabe Davis didn't even play. And arguably, I know Diggs is great, but Davis is the big play guy.
Yeah.
And he didn't play, and they didn't even need him. Not even, it's like, well, and we don't need you. This week he'll probably be back. Bills are actually favored by 6 on the road. I don't think it will be. So what is that? Would be like 9 points. I would say it's about a touchdown here, but I got the Bills winning.
Yeah, I think you make a great point about Miami. It's like, hey, great, you had a good week and you won the game, but you were getting handled pretty well, right? And you didn't look great. And who knows, maybe the Ravens, let their guard down a little bit. Where I'm in agreement, Buffalo just looks so good in both games they've played. And it's not like it's just on, just their passing game or just their running game or just their defense. They're looking solid, on both sides of the ball. They look focused. As good as Miami's offense looked last week, I don't know that defensively they look great, that they can stop Buffalo. And I think Buffalo will get some stops on them. And I got Buffalo by 2 touchdowns. So definitely all in agreement there. Let's see. Detroit at Minnesota. Derek, should you lead us off?
This is a real tough one for me because my heart's with the Lions. And then the way the Vikings looked against the Eagles, that was pretty bad. But then I realized that was prime time, and Kirk Cousins doesn't show up for prime time.
That's right.
And this is like a 10 o'clock game.
Yeah.
So it's in Minnesota. I think the spread is 6. I think the Vikings win by a field goal.
Yeah, I agree. Because it's in Minnesota, I don't think Minnesota is as bad as they played on Monday night, because they didn't look very good at all. I think they're a little better team than that. I think Philly played better than they probably should have. So I think that game kind of throws me off. Detroit looks good. They're scoring a lot of points. And but can they stop Minnesota is the question for me. And so that's why I'm going to take Minnesota by a touchdown. Wes, what do you got?
I'm going to go with Detroit. They're leading the NFL in big plays so far this year. Goff's got 6 touchdowns. Like, who would have thought that? Swift's 4th in the league in rushing. He's run the ball well. You got the running game going. They're throwing the ball fairly well. And the thing about the Lions, they're going to play hard. And I think this week they're going to cause turnovers. And I think that will be the edge in the game. I think that will be enough for them to win. I think they're going to win 25-20. I think Kirk Cousins is going to have another bad week. I think it's going to be a hiccup for them, because I think it's just, I think everyone kind of like at first, like, oh yeah, Minnesota's going to be, are we talking about Super Bowl here? Like, I think this is going to bring them back down to earth. Like, hey, you know what? You got to go out there, even against the teams that you should beat. You can't let up on the gas, and I think the Lions are going to get a win, but in the end, I think you're going to see Minnesota in the playoffs, and you're going to see Detroit out of the playoffs like usual.
Yeah. I
don't think much means. There's not a lot that you're going to put into this game if the Lions do pull it off. So
yeah. Well, they're all 1-1 in the division right now,
Yeah.
So that's there is some, this game does mean something, right? Especially in the North. So I think both teams definitely have to come to play. But yeah, I don't think Detroit can't win this game, so I don't think that's a bad call at all. But I think that'll be one of the better games of the week to watch. Let's see. Baltimore at New England. I do think there was a little bit of a let down in Miami. I think Baltimore is a really good team. Even going into New England, they're going to be salty from the Miami loss. I don't see Harbaugh letting them let up again and pushing them real hard into this New England game. So I got Baltimore winning this game, pretty handily by 10. What do you got, Derek?
I'm in complete agreement with you, because that's thing is usually when you got the Patriots, it's Belichick out coaches the other coach. Now you got Harbaugh here, so it's not like he's one of the best coaches in the league also. He's going to have them ready. I'm pretty sure Dobbins will be back, so they're going to be almost at full strength. Peters just came back this last week. So I think yeah, I got the Ravens winning by 10.
Wes?
Oh, breaking news. Ravens, Lamar Jackson has an elbow issue. Skips throwing at practice, but vows to play versus the Patriots. Wore a protective sleeve on his right arm for the first time in 5 seasons.
He'll just run for 300 yards.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but we are talking about the Patriots here. And so, I mean, it's, the Patriots offense to me isn't very good. But I think I'm going to pick the Patriots. I think they're going to play above themselves, and I don't think Jackson's quite right. And I just think there's, again, it's another one of those games where I think Ravens are, of course, Patriots out of the playoffs, Ravens in the playoffs. But again, it's early in the season. There's adjustments, and I don't think Lamar is quite right. And something was haywire at the end of that game, the Dolphins game, anyways. And I just don't think they utilize him to his strengths still. I think they drop him way too much straight back. They need to get him outside the pocket. And you get him outside the pocket, I mean, he could destroy teams in the NFL. So, but I think this is still it's going to be a test for Patriots to see if they can actually score some points. I think 24-21.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that it's not that you're in New England, and nobody wants to go play in New England, and it's hard to think that New England isn't good because they've been good for so long. So that's an interesting pick there, and Baltimore just seems to got like too much offense. They're going to score too much, and I just don't know that New England can score a lot. So that'll be interesting.
Even if it's Jackson isn't playing, Tyler Huntley plays, they still win, I think.
Well, Huntley's not a whole lot different than Jackson. Yeah, there's things that Jackson does that nobody else can do, but Huntley can do some of those things pretty well. So yeah, I mean, either way, I think I still gotta go Baltimore on that one. So Wes going opposite on a couple games there. I like it. All right, let's see. So Wes, lead us off with Cincinnati and New York. What do you got here? The Cincinnati at the Jets.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me as far as because I really like the way the Jets are playing. I like Garrett Wilson. I think he's going to be explosive for them, for many years. I think he's going to really help change the trajectory of that franchise, make them actually competitive and winning. And, you put talent around Joe Flacco, he can still play.
Yeah.
But I think this is a must win for the Bengals. I'm going to take the Bengals just because, it's Joe Burrow, and he's just not going to go down like that easily. And even though I think the Jets are going to lead a lot of the game, I think in the end, Burrow's going to come out on top, and he's going to do what needs to be done, get a win, so they are not, basically, so their season is not in jeopardy. I think they can get it done. I think, we're still talking about Joe Flacco here. This isn't Joe Flacco of 2013. I think they're going to pressure him. I think he's going to have a couple turnovers and fumble the ball and do what got Joe Flacco basically shipped off to a few different places. So,
yeah, Cincinnati. Derek, you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Cincinnati. I mean, I don't believe in the Jets just yet. I think last week was an anomaly. I also don't believe in the Browns, so in a way, it wasn't. I mean, they didn't look really good against the Ravens. That game was never really in doubt. The thing I wanted to bring up about Joe Burrow earlier is, he had his appendix taken out.
Yeah.
And I was listening to the radio and a guy came on and he was his actual physician. He says it usually takes like 2 months.
Yeah.
And so that could be why Burrow's not at 100% right yet. So, and he's getting hit a ton.
Yeah. Must feel great. I got my appendix taken out and I'm like getting hit like 15 times a game. Thanks, guys.
Right. So I think Wes will be happy they'll establish Joe Mixon in this game. And they'll end up winning by 10.
Yeah, I think it's a must-win game for Cincinnati, and I think they're a good enough team that when you put them in a must-win situation against the Jets or the likes of the Jets, that they're going to come out on top. And I think you're right. Mixon has to get involved for them to get back into their flow, because that's what's a killer. When you got Mixon catching out of the backfield, running for 1,000 yards in a season, that's what makes Chase and Higgins so dangerous. So they got to get Mixon going, and I think they do. I think you're right. And the Jets, I mean, you're talking about a win over Cleveland. I mean, what are we talking about, right? So I'm still gonna go. I'm gonna go Cincinnati. I got Cincinnati by 9. Let's see. Philadelphia at Washington. Derek, what do you got there?
On paper, at the beginning of the year, this would have been a pick 'em, but the way the Eagles have been playing lately, they're favored by 6.5 on the road. I'll take it. I'll say the Eagles win by 10. I just don't think the Commanders are that good. And the Eagles are proving me wrong that they are that good right now. So I'm going Eagles by 10.
Yeah, I agree.
Jalen Hurts is showing all the doubters, right? You have Hurts and Tua going out there showing all the doubters along, and everyone's like top 100 Mac Jones. He sucks. Right? I mean, come on.
He's not in the best situation right now either, though. I mean, so I don't agree Mac Jones is the greatest quarterback, but he's also in a very poor situation with what's surrounding him talent-wise on his skill positions. But you're right, Philadelphia, the way they're playing right now, it's hard not to pick them in this game. I think they're going to win this game by a touchdown at least. So it is on the road, and Washington's not playing horrible. They actually have some good things happening, but you can't. I mean, Carson Wentz up and down. He had a good game, and maybe he wants to show his old Philadelphia team up, But I think they play well. I just don't think they play well enough to win the game. So I got Philly by 7. Wes, what do you got?
I'm going to take the Commanders.
Of course you are.
So I mean, Washington. I mean, they're number 2 in the NFL in big plays. I think Dotson's going to have a big day. I think he's going to have a couple touchdowns. I think Philly's going to come out and lead most of the game, and I think Washington's coming back. And Wentz is, had 6 touchdowns this year. He looks okay. I mean, he's not making any stupid mistakes like he usually does. I mean, if they did an NFL Follies, Carson Wentz would be in like 5 of the hour-long tape of Follies. I mean, he does some dumb things, but I'm giving him credit. He's playing better this year. I think he's got some weapons. I think they're going to get Gibson involved. Gibson really hasn't done anything so far this year. I think Gibson's going to have a big game. I think he's going to have over 100 yards. And I think Hurts is going to turn the ball a couple times. But I'm going to take Washington by 3, 27-24.
Wow. Okay. I mean, like I said, Washington, I don't think is playing horrible, so I don't think that one's very, it's not a crazy pick at all. But I don't know. I became a little bit more of a Hurts believer, not just because of all the stats he had, but just because the way he threw the ball, he was putting the ball in spots that I honestly never seen him throw the ball that well before, as he did on Monday night. Into holes in the zone, right into the receivers, to the right spot on the run, things like that. So, yeah, I think Hurts looked really good. But also, I think Washington's looked really good. If they can get McLaurin going, and like you said, if Dawson comes out and Gibson has a big game, yeah, we could see the Commanders take that game.
Dotson looks good. Dotson looks like he's gonna really help that offense, and that's Washington's. And McLaurin's just they're just gonna key on him, and that just really opens up things for
right
for wins.
All right, New Orleans at Carolina. I keep wanting to pick Carolina this year because I don't know. I just figured with CMC back and they have talented receivers. They have talent around there, but man, they just don't look very good. So I think New Orleans defense is solid, and this probably won't be the prettiest game, but even in Carolina, I got New Orleans winning, and I'm gonna give them 5. So New Orleans by 5. What do you think, Derek?
Yeah, the Saints are favored by 3 on the road, and I'm going to say, that they're going to win probably by a touchdown. I don't really have much faith in Carolina. I think Matt Rule will be gone after this year. And, yeah.
Wes, you agree with that? You're going to go Carolina?
Yeah, unanimous. I mean, no, absolutely. You think about it, but then I was like, I remember who their quarterback is.
Yeah.
And he had 146 yards last game, which, this isn't 1975 in the NFL. This is like you are the number one pick in the draft. You remember that. And you're just, he's just not playing that well. Surprising. I thought they'd be a little bit better. But I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Saints have some deficiencies, especially Jameis Winston throwing interceptions that he shouldn't be throwing. Reverting back to that where, I'm going to throw 30 interceptions. But still, I think the Saints are just too talented on both sides of the ball. And I said the Saints win by 7.
Nice. Yeah. Finally got a unanimous game here. What do you think, Wes, about the Jacksonville at the Chargers?
Well, Herbert's, still, nursing those ribs, but he's gonna play. I think they're gonna win. I think it's gonna be closer than people think. I think Jacksonville, they're playing good. I think they're gonna keep it close, but I'd say Chargers by 9.
Chargers by 9. What do you got in that game, Derek?
I was thinking about it, but it is in Los Angeles. Yeah, Chargers 7-point favorites. Herbert's going to play. Even with those bruised ribs, he still looked pretty good out there. I think probably Keenan Allen will be back too. Maybe. They might look at the Jaguars as a game where they don't need him back for this one. But yeah, I think the Chargers win by 10. But right now, the Jaguars are first in their division right now.
Right.
That's funny.
Well, I mean, they played a decent week 1, right? They could have won that game against the Commanders, and then they come in and they
annihilated the Colts.
Yeah, and don't give up any points. But I mean, I think if it's in LA, if the Chargers can protect Herbert and just play their normal game, yeah, they win this game. So I think they cover. They win by a touchdown for sure. Okay, Derek, how about the Rams at Arizona?
Taking the Rams are favored by 3.5 on the road, but I think the Rams are just too talented, and the Cardinals are going to be feeling how great they are coming off the comeback win, but they aren't really that good. I got the Rams. The Rams are still reeling from that Buffalo game, and I think they come and make a little statement here, and I said they win by 14.
Wow. Yeah. In Arizona.
Yeah. They're mad.
That's brutal. Wes, you agree with that?
No. It's I want to think that the Rams, the Rams this, the Rams that. It's just, I think Kyler Murray after last week, I think he realized that, what, it's just going to be me. And he still doesn't have DeAndre Hopkins. But I think he's just going to do it all himself, and he's going to have 150 yards rushing. I think he's going to confuse the Rams enough. I think it'll be high scoring, 31-28.
Wow.
Like I said, I think it's just, there's going to be a lot of games where Kyler's great, and there's going to be a lot of games where he's not very good because he's going to make mistakes. I just think that he's in kind of emotion right now where I think he's going to make he's going to be unpredictable. So
you got Arizona?
Yep.
All right. Well, Wes going opposite again because I'm going with the Rams. I think it will be a closer game. I don't know that. I mean, the Rams could blow them out, but I think Arizona. It's in Arizona, and they're coming off of a big win. They're going to have some intensity. They're going to have some emotion and momentum going. I just think the Rams are a better team, and even on the road they'll beat them. But in a close game, I actually have the Rams going up early, but the Arizona coming back, but the Rams still winning by a field goal.
The Chiefs game was in Arizona also, so
right.
It didn't go out too well for the Cardinals.
Yeah, and again, I think Wes is on to something when he says it's up and down for them. So yeah, they could get blown out, they could come back.
Well, that's the problem with the first 4 weeks of the season is everyone is you see something, and then the next week you see the exact opposite because teams are just like, you just don't know where everyone's at right now. It's like, it's tough to pick the Cardinals. I mean, I'm not a big fan. The Rams, to me, can get beat any week the way they play. So it's just like, you just don't know. The Rams should win, but I just think that Kyler Murray, I think he's that dynamic. I just think, where's his head at? From 1 week to the next, where's it upstairs?
Yeah.
What's he looking at? What's his week? What's his prep week look like? And that's going to always be the big question mark.
Well, I mean, if everything goes Wes's way, he's going to have a big lead, or he's going to be way behind. So we'll see.
Yeah, I already thought about that before I made these picks. I'm like, this is a big week for me.
Yeah, it is. But I think it's a great point, though, that early in the season is always the hardest, right? And so you just don't know anything yet. And this is where you get your trends from. So we'll, hopefully our picks get better as the season goes longer. Atlanta at Seattle, honestly, this was a hard one for me to pick, but I don't think either of these teams are very good. They both have potential, it could be a tie. It's in Seattle, so I went with the Seahawks because it's in Seattle. That's my thought process there. So Derek, what do you think?
I have the exact same thought process. It's a pick 'em, and I was just like, Seattle's at home, so I'm going to go with Seattle.
Yeah. Wes,
yeah.
You going to Atlanta?
I really want to, but I can't. Just because, it's just, they're playing at home. It's be loud. I think Geno Smith is gonna play well enough. I mean, he's got weapons. Use your weapons. I still think they got some semblance of a running game too. They're all right. I mean, they're better than Atlanta. They should win, by a field goal.
Yeah, and they're at home, so
yeah,
I think we're all in agreement there. What do you think about this next game, though, Wes? I think this is a tough one, right? Green Bay at Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I went back and forth on this one. It's tough because Evans isn't playing. Yeah, I get it. But I think Bowles has got the defense playing really good. I think Fournette is a force, and I think they're going to ride Fournette the whole year. He looks good. The running game looks good, and it's Tom Brady, and he's gonna make do with what he's got. Even though I really was gonna want to pick the Packers here, I think they're gonna do enough to win the game. I'm picking Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I was on the same thought process that it could go both ways. It hurts not having Mike Evans specifically. Green Bay is
Godwin's gone. I mean, they're
better. Yeah, and Tampa Bay's hurting, but yeah, if they can ride the running game and get through Green Bay's defense, I think their defense is good enough to keep Green Bay's offense down because their defense is playing well right now at Tampa. I'm going with Tampa by a touchdown. Derek, what do you got?
Well, since this is the regular season and not the playoffs, and
early in the season too.
And you're without Godwin, you're without Evans, you might be without Julio Jones. I mean, they just signed Cole Beasley off the streets.
Dude, he's money.
Yeah. Well, let's see if he's ready though.
Yeah.
He might not be ready this week. Yeah, it's nice you got Fournette, but the Packers have Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. So they got two guys. I feel like both defenses are really good. I just think it's one of those games where, just like last year, Packers play like SHIT the first week, and then they start being like Aaron Rodgers, like, relax, guys. And then
relax. Do that again. Is that how he said it?
RELAX. Relax.
Yeah.
He's going to come out. Why he's been the MVP, right? The regular season MVP the last few years.
Yeah, I know. That's a tough. I had the Packers all day until about 2 hours ago. I was like, it's freaking Brady though. Brady's mad. You know there's stuff going on. There's so much going down with him. He's like, man, just
sometimes,
may not be a good thing.
When you have one foot out, when you retire,
I know,
and then you come back, you're still not really all there. And Father Time catches up with everybody.
Or you win 3 championships like Michael Jordan.
Yeah. But, he was still in his prime, though. That would have been Brady 10 years ago when Jordan did that.
Yeah.
I just think for this week, I think the Bucs are a better team. They just don't have any receivers right now.
Right.
Yeah.
I got the Packers winning by a field goal. Plus, it's the regular season. That's when Rodgers is good. Yeah,
and this was a tough game to pick, so I don't think that's a horrible pick at all. San Francisco at Denver, another one that I had trouble with. What did you go with here, Derek?
I would have had trouble if Trey Lance wouldn't have got hurt. But now that he's hurt, I got 49ers winning this. Probably by a touchdown. Even though they're on the road, 49ers are just way too talented. Their defense is stacked. Haven't looked, but probably Kittle will be back. I just don't. Denver's just been out of sync. And I don't really think that Denver's defense is that good. I think they padded their stats last year with a easy schedule. So yeah, I got the 49ers winning this one.
You agree with that, Wes?
Yeah. They think Kittle's gonna be back, but even if he wasn't, I just think that the Niners are just too talented. They're gonna get the ball to Samuel. Garoppolo's gonna make the right reads. He knows the offense. He's experienced. He's gonna make enough plays to win probably by 8 points. Their defense, the Broncos are 0-6 in the red zone this season for touchdowns. They just have no confidence. I don't know what's going on. What they're drawing up is just not working. When they have opportunities to score touchdowns, I think Judy's banged up. I think that hurts, and I'm going the Niners.
Yeah, everything told me, to pick the Niners. I think they had a better chance with Garoppolo. I like them as a team better with Garoppolo. I do think that there's a little bit of, re-gelling that has to happen with him. But I took Denver here because it's in Denver, and I think this is the first game that Denver does gel as an offense. Yes, they've been pretty poor up to this point, but I think they gel this time, and it's a close game. I said I had San Francisco winning, but then I had Denver winning. So I'm going to stick with Denver. Close game by a field goal. And last but not least, Dallas at the Giants. What do you got, Wes?
I got the Giants. I think Saquon's gonna have a decent game. I think Daniel Jones is gonna probably have the best of his first couple games, and I think that Cooper Rush isn't gonna play as good as he did against the Bengals. I mean, honestly, they scored 20 points. I think they're not even gonna score that many this game. I think the Giants will win 25-16.
Derek, what do you got?
Well, it's weird before, I was thinking of the games and then I looked at the spread and it kind of shocked me. Giants are favored by 1, so it's a pick 'em game. But I got the Giants. It's a home game. Like Wes said, it's Cooper Rush. They got more film, more tape on him now. The Giants are really gelling. I really like Brian Daboll. Saquon Barkley is healthy. So, yeah, I got the Giants winning this game by probably a field goal.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants are off to a good start, 2-0. And with when Saquon runs the ball well, stays healthy, it makes them very dangerous. They still don't have a lot in the receiver end, but that they kind of lost that years ago. But I'll tell you what, I watched Cooper Rush and I like him. I think he has a good chance in this game. I think Dallas is this is a big game for them. I think they see this as a must win because if they go 1-2 and the Giants go 3-0, that doesn't put them in a very good position. Then potentially Philadelphia at 3-0. So I really think Dallas comes out and plays real hard, and I think they win this game with defense. And Cooper Rush just doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but just like he did against the Bengals, and he plays good enough to win this game. So I got Dallas in this game by a touchdown. So a couple of opposites there. That'll be a big swing. Could go both ways there on the last couple of games. Like the last 3 games there. An interesting week, as we wrap up that week 3. Those are all our predictions, but we're just all over the board because it's hard, with these games. I think a lot of these games can go both ways, and you saw that in our picks. So this should actually frame up to be a pretty fun week to be watching football. So before we wrap up, let's just fantasy football HSC podcast update. Derek, off to a hot start, 2-0 over in your division there. Wes hasn't shown up yet.
What are you talking about? I lost my gap.
I know you did. That's brutal. I barely squeaked out a win, so my season hasn't started real great. But nobody on my side of the division really has started out great, so I'm in luck there. Derek put up 170 points, which was crazy, and that's a lot of points for the way our league's set up.
Well, and I went. The guy that I played put up 150.
Right. But you got the biggest surprise is Big Mike at 2-0.
He's right behind me.
He's right there, and his team's playing pretty good. He's getting a lot of points per week.
Josh Allen.
Yep, he's got Allen and Cooper Kupp, and looking pretty good. I mean, the Bills' defense, I think he has too.
Yeah, he's got Anthony this week who put up 150 against me.
Right.
Wait, no, he doesn't. He has Wes.
Wes. This is a must win for Wes.
Yeah.
Can you beat Big Mike?
No,
let's make sure your lineup is correct.
Right.
No, I did. I changed it this morning, but still there's holes. There's deficiencies. It's not good.
Yeah, I have to get production out of my running backs. That's what's killing me right now. I'm not getting much out of Henry. Also, Saquon at least has given me a little bit, so that's helpful. Yeah, and then I got to play the right receivers too. So overall, my team's in good shape still. Any picks out there? Any people should be watching out for? They should be playing. They should not be playing. Any tips for the fantasy football listeners out there?
Well, I mean, I'm looking through my team, who I'm going to have to play here. Wes said that I should probably start Damon Pierce against the Bears because they're going to put the running game going. So
yeah, we'll see. Yeah, well, Bears defense, it gets better than it looks on paper. I think so. How about this? What do you guys think about playing Amari Cooper? So Amari Cooper had a good game last week. Is he somebody should be putting in the flex or even a starting receiver?
I've never been a big fan of Cooper in fantasy because he's so sporadic. You just don't know. He could put up 30 points. But then again, he could put up like 5.
And they're playing Pittsburgh, so that might be
so as week 1 he put up 4.7, then he had 25.
Right.
We're talking about Mika Fitzpatrick here back there roaming around taking away stuff. So I mean that's a tough one.
And then another one that I've seen. So what do you do in the situation where you have Jalen Waddle, and Tyreek Hill? You play them both?
Yeah, you put them both.
Play them both. Yeah. I think Josh has that on his team, and I think that was an interesting one. And then
I had them both in my money league before I traded Waddle for Derrick Henry a year ago.
And so another pick. So Wes thinks Gibson's going to have a big game, so that might be someone there out in Washington. If you have Gibson, might be a good play. What about AJ Brown, Devonta Smith? How's that playing out? Should people be playing both of them? Should they both be starters?
Yeah, I like AJ Brown.
AJ Brown more than Smith.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Devonta had his best game, right? I mean, he put up good points again. AJ Brown, I think they're about the same, right? They put out the same amount of points. But that's another one of those teams, though. It's like when you got 2 receivers, what should people be doing? Like, is it worth it to bring in that second receiver like Dotson and McLaurin? Like,
yeah,
that's kind of the same thing in that game.
Well, I would if I had like Diggs and Davis. I'd play both of them.
Yeah.
Or not as much now because I don't think Thielen is getting as much production, but Jefferson and Thielen, or I mean,
so is it worth picking that up or picking up a second receiver on the team, or maybe trading for one? Like, what do you think people should do there?
Well, it depends on what team it is. That's what all it depends on. Like if it is like Diggs and Davis, yeah, or AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, or Hill and Waddle, definitely.
Right.
Hill and Waddle, that's like the top. If you got both those guys, you got to start those 2.
Yep.
Because actually, right now, Edmonds and Mozart aren't doing as much. So it is all out of the passing game right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, it also could be because they were getting crushed by Baltimore, too. So we don't know what it's like if they were in a close game.
Yeah.
Definitely. I agree. Are there any players out there that for people who are getting injuries, like people that might still be available in their leagues or on people's benches that people aren't using that they might be able to pick up? Like, what if you lose a tight end? What if you lose one of your key running backs? Is there if you got like a couple tight end injuries out there, you got always gonna have injuries. Are there any other players that you guys see coming up?
Tight end's always a hard one because if you don't have one of the top 5, it's always kind of a crapshoot. Yeah. Right now in our league, Freiermuth from the Steelers is available, so that's kind of a big pick. That would be a good pickup. Looking at the rest of the pickups you could have, it's kind of more if you got injuries, because Like Nelson Aguilar's out there for the Patriots. That might be a big pickup. It's kind of slim pickings in our league.
For sure.
In deeper leagues, a name to look out for is if I can find it here because it's way down this list. So it's more of a sleeper.
Yeah, I have like a guy like Javonte Williams in Detroit, right? Like he's one of those vultures, right?
Jamal
Or
Williams.
Jamal Williams, yeah. Um, he's going to go out there and he's going to steal some touchdowns from, on the goal line from Swift. So
Right.
So if you're on a deeper league, you might look at some guys like that can come in, and get some touchdowns. Philly was playing their backup running back quite a bit, throwing him the ball out of the back, out of the backfield. So he was getting some points.
Well, in our league, St. Brown Erasmus, from Bears, your leading receiver, he's out there.
All of 57 yards.
The one name I like to say, and he might come together and tell DeAndre Hopkins, is Greg Dortch for the Cardinals. He's actually he had 13 and then 15 in the first 2 weeks.
He's out to a pretty good start. And that's a good pickup too. Their other receiver, I've seen some or heard some other podcasts and fantasy talk about him as a potential
Hollywood?
No, the fast guy, the third receiver.
Are you talking about Bateman? You're talking about
Arizona. Yeah, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but yeah, look at Arizona receivers. Dortch is good. He has some good start because I don't think Hollywood is really.
He's on most teams, I think.
Yeah, he's already taken. So
AJ Green, but he's been garbage lately.
Yeah, AJ Green's trash.
Rondell Moore, but he's been hurt.
Rondell Moore, that's what I'm saying. He's coming back, and there's a lot of people are saying that was a good somebody to throw on your bench and watch him, and see how he does. Cool. Well, big week in football, big week in fantasy. See if Wes can move back up here. You gotta knock off Big Mike, get yourself back in the hunt. And Derek's team's looking pretty good. A lot of points per week. So that's off to a good start there.
Also look at, if you want to, the Texans D or the Bears D, because both of them go either way in that game. And the other one is Seahawks or Falcons D.
Right. Yeah, that could be you could sneak some points in on either of those games, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, any final thoughts there on week 3 or fantasy, Derek?
Oh, it's going to be an interesting week. And just like I was pretty confident last week, and then it was going pretty good, and then all of a sudden a bunch of teams just shot the bed. But this week is very interesting because I could see being wrong on 60% of these games easily.
Yeah.
So
this was a tough one.
Like we said earlier, like you said, the first 4 weeks, that's always the test to figure out how the season's going to go and how the teams are. And that's what happens a lot, though, is a lot of teams, don't play anybody in preseason. So they're very rusty.
Yeah. It's tough to get them started. Wes, any wrap-up thoughts?
Yeah. There's just a lot of dysfunction in the league. There's been some atrocious quarterback play already. Just watching last week, just some of the Matt Ryan throws, you're just like, you kidding me? You learn this stuff in grade school. What are you doing? Why are you throwing this? And just some decision making, in the Broncos end. And I just think that the teams, the Buffalo Bills are the team that looks like a well-oiled machine. And it just looks like they knew after that Kansas City loss. I think it stung really bad, that loss, and I think they said, you know what, we're not going to allow this. We're not going to allow this to happen again in the playoffs. We're just going to beat down teams, and I think the Bills are for real. Even if they lose to the Dolphins, doesn't really matter to me because their schedule is not that difficult. If you actually look after the Dolphins game, they could really go on a run, and I still think it's possible. They're 14-3, 15-2 possibly still. If they just stay healthy.
Yeah.
They look really good, and everyone else looks like they're just trying to figure it out. So it's going to be an interesting week. Important week.
I think it's going to be a great week, a very important week, I think, for a lot of teams. Some of them playing division rivals, some of them maybe 2-0 or 0-2, you know, and so there's just a lot of situations happening, and I think it'll be a great week. One thing for me is I think there's a good story around some new coaches for teams doing well. You know, I guess there's some coaches not doing so well as new coaches or even newer coaches. So that I think that's a cool thing happening right now is watching some of these new coaches. I think that's fun. I think it makes a great addition into an extra thing, you know, if you're a football fan to kind of keep an eye on.
Like Miami's coach.
He's awesome.
Oh, I love
That
it.
guy's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Him and then Dan Campbell from Detroit are two of my favorite coaches in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
You go for it on 4th and
Campbell.
7. Score a touchdown.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a cool story. It's a cool thing to watch. I think it's great for the NFL to get some of these new younger coaches in, things like that. And then there's also, like, for me, coaching has just been kind of a storyline up to this point of a couple of weeks. There's been some bad coaching out there too, which is surprising that at an NFL level that you're still making these kind of decisions in your game. So I think coaching is something that I always like to, you know, give us that extra thing to watch, you know, as a football fan. So. All right, good stuff, guys. If you guys are watching on YouTube, please subscribe, like. Don't forget to leave comments. You know, anything you want to hear about, any suggestions you want, or if you want to tell us how good or bad our picks are. Really appreciate anybody that's listening and watching. Also, if you're listening on any of the audio, thank you for listening. I think we get a lot more engagement out of that, so that's kind of cool. So keep listening out there, and we appreciate everybody, and thanks for joining us. See you guys next week.